Okay, so there's a few things that were done to this car. First of all, there's the aesthetic stuff. Then we'll talk about wheels and spacers. Then we could talk about suspension and exhaust. Uh, let's start with the basic stuff. So in terms of aesthetics, there's the MPerformance diffuser, MPerformance winglets. I found the winglets actually really nice. I didn't like the little rocker panel, the way it looks on the BMWs, and I found that the winglet kind of covered it up enough so that I don't have to see the parts that I don't like, and made me enjoy the car a lot more. So the front diffuser, I went with the basic MPerformance diffuser. I didn't use the CS one. I prefer this one, but everyone has their own taste. But I find this to be subtle and beautiful, and it just kind of finished off the front really well. The roof was white, as you know, and these railings were white. So what I did is I went with the Stek PPF. Part of the reasoning for PPF is I actually use my car for outdoorsy stuff, maybe a little bit of biking, canoeing, kayaking, and there's often a BMW rack that goes on this, and I just wanted to make sure that the roof was protected. If you're thinking of putting carbon fiber to reduce the weight of your car, I would recommend against doing that. I think from my experience, the roof of this car is really flimsy, so I would be surprised if it weighed any much more. I would be surprised if it weighed more than the carbon fiber, to be honest, just because of how flimsy it was. You could literally touch it and put a dent in the roof. So I found that this PPF gives it a little bit more of that strength that it needs. I didn't go with the carbon mirrors just because usually when your mirrors are black, you pay extra to get them in body color. So making the mirrors black again just seemed like not a mod, but the opposite of a mod. But I'm kind of indifferent. I guess sometimes it does look nice to have the carbon fiber mirrors, and in my case, I'm not really convinced. So yeah, we talked about the winglets. Let's go to the back of the car where you see the MPerformance spoiler. The MPerformance spoiler is a really nice touch for this car. It just kind of finishes it off and really transforms it. It makes it look, I guess, the way it was intended to be, a little sportier, and overall just, yeah, ties things in with the winglets and the front suspension. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, so I apologize if I'm breathing a little bit heavier. I think I might have like a chest cold or something, but it's not good to sit at home all day, so I thought I'd come out here and have some fun and talk to you guys about this nice little car. All right, so here you have the rear diffuser, also in performance. Now you might be thinking, all of these bits, if you're thinking about upgrading your car, and you might be looking online to see all of these parts and find that, something like this in Canada is probably like 2,000, 1,000, 1,400, another 2,000 the front. You're already at $10,000. Well, I kind of got lucky in that some of the local enthusiasts were selling some of their parts, and I picked up these actual MPerformance parts for a fairly good price, I would say. Most of them I installed myself. They're, if you do your research and kind of get the little rubber wheel to erase the glue, and for this one just get the little tools and be patient, they come off and install fairly easily. So okay, I think this concludes the carbon bits and the roof. One thing maybe I didn't mention is that this is not wrapped. Don't wrap it, it's not worth it. Go to the dealership and just ask them, or your favorite paint shop, and pull these off and ask them to paint them in black for you. I didn't go with a metallic paint, just a nice, a really nice kind of black finish. And the antenna, I don't regret it. I had them kind of buff it out after, and give it a little bit of that, kind of match the trim and whatnot in terms of glossiness, and it looks very yeah, it looks very nice. Now let's go to the wheels. In terms of wheels, I went with the factory wheels just because it's really hard to find wheels that fit this car, and you'll be, you know, taking chances with stuff. Now Apex has some really good fitments for this car. Some of them a little bit aggressive, but I do respect that company and think they make beautiful products. However, these came up at a dealership, at a local dealership. It was one of the last sets. It's basically wheels, forged wheels in the frozen gold with TPMS sensors inside from BMW, Cup 2 tires, and oh, I'm not pointing the camera in the right place. Let's go down here. So you have the Cup 2 tires by Michelin, the sensors already mounted and balanced, and the whole kit comes at a fairly good price. You know, if you factor in the price of the tires, TPMS sensors for OEM ones, then installing them and mounting them and balancing them, it adds up. So I found this kit to be not cheap, but good value. And you know, these, I believe these kind of things keep their value. So yeah, that's it for the wheels. Now for a little bit of stance or making the wheels flush with the fenders, I went with the Futur Classic spacers, 10mm spacers from I&D Direct. I'd just like to give a quick shout out to I&D. I don't know if it was just me, but the service was really personalized and very friendly. My email never kind of went unnoticed. They always replied in a timely manner, and they were always very helpful, especially to someone in Canada, you know, making sure that I get the best shipping and the best rates. Yeah, just overall very helpful. So I'm not getting paid by them or anything. This YouTube channel is not even monetized. I'm just doing this for fun to help out people. So yeah, if you like the content, give me a thumbs up, maybe subscribe for some more future videos. I'd like to do some driving videos just to give you more perspective on how these cars drive, and some more helpful information about how to set them up in terms of driving. Okay, now we talked about the wheels, the tires, and the spacers, which is 10mm all around. Now, can you do 12? I know some videos show 12. You know, probably you can. I think the front is good at 10. If I had to redo it, I might explore 12s in the back. But the problem is, I'm worried that it will rub. Right now it doesn't rub, and with 12s, it might not rub, but who knows, right? I do have the MPerformance Coilovers on this car. The MPerformance Coilovers are basically a collaboration, I believe, between KW and BMW. You can get these coilovers also at I&D Direct or ECS or your local dealership, wherever, you know, you find them online. Do I recommend them? I think they're amazing. It's my first set of coilovers. Of course I've had sports suspension in the past, but I've never really kind of gone the coilover path. How did they change the car? Well, first of all, it sits lower. You could tell I didn't drop it too much. This is exactly where I want it to be. I don't want to scrape on anything, and so far with the setup the way I have it right now, which probably is about another 10 or 15mm lower than stock, I've never scraped anything. I've gone down some really aggressive parking lots and off curbs and whatnot, and yeah, so far so good. No scraping whatsoever. So highly recommend them MPerformance Coilovers. I left them at the default setting. And how do they drive? Well, okay, it's much smoother in terms of like hitting little cracks like this in the road. It just felt like it was more, how can I say, it took away the harshness. The M2 suspension was great, but it felt a little bit harsh. Actually, I didn't mind the M2 suspension the way it was from the factory. I just didn't like the ride height. I thought it needed to be a little bit lower, and this MPerformance Coilovers really helped me to make things you know, sit exactly where I want them to, and also smoothed out the ride. Now, it didn't ruin the suspension by making them too soft. Actually, on the contrary, I do feel like I have a lot better handling. I do feel like the car, because it's a heavier, taller car a little bit, it needed to be lower to the ground, and the coilovers really helped do that. Overall, how do I rate them? I would say they're probably up there. Like, I would say like it's just the perfect thing you could do for this car is these MPerformance coilovers. And the reason for that is, one, they're covered under your dealership warranty because it's a BMW part, and they improve the ride. You also have that peace of mind of knowing that it's an OEM part, so you didn't really kind of, you know, change the car's character too much. It still has the parts that it was intended to have. So for me, that's kind of just a little peace of mind and something that makes me feel good. Yeah. What else did I do? So when I bought this car, one of the main things I noticed right away is that when I would take turns, the rear the rear used to squat a lot. So as you're turning, the front seemed pretty sturdy, but the rear for some reason used to squat a little too much for my liking. It made the whole thing feel a little sloppy. It's maybe not noticeable for you, but if you pay attention to it, if you have this car and you pay attention to it, you'll notice that the rear squats quite a bit. And to correct that, the first mod I did, which is kind of just like I had to do, I picked up a brand new from the dealership. You could go and ask for a CSR M2's CSR rear sway bar. Eventually I did the front one as well, but the rear one really fixed the problem right away. You could feel that the car just handled a lot better. But now I noticed that the front got a little bit softer compared to the back, so I went ahead and ordered the front one as well eventually, and got that replaced with some SPL links for the sway bar. So as it sits right now, you have the MPerformance suspension with the front and rear sway bar. I highly recommend you modify your car like that, because doing springs is okay, but honestly, when I was starting out modifying cars, I never realized how important sway bars are. It just seems like it's just a bar. What is it gonna do? But with my first experience with a sway bar on an R53 Mini, I was just shocked. It really was amazing. What a transformation. I'll never drive a car without thicker sway bars ever again. It's probably my favorite mod to do on any car. So yeah, MPerformance coilovers, front and rear sway bar, spacers. That's pretty much it for the suspension. And in terms of a daily driver slash sports car, we're getting hassled. Okay, so that was the suspension, the carbon bits, and the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was the how to modify the sound on this car. Now, there's a lot of things out there, and you might be persuaded to go down this equal length mid pipe and, you know, decat the car. Look, I'm not about, you know, butchering the car and removing catalytic converters and OPF filters and stuff like this. I just really wanted some good sound, some a way to know that, hey, you know what, maybe it's a good time to shift gears. The car from stock did not have very good sound. It sounds good at cold starts, but when you're driving inside the car and when you're doing a little bit of spirited driving, it really was hard to know if you were getting close to the red line. So it was kind of scary because you could sometimes hit the red line, and I didn't want that. So the way to fix that, just to hear what the engine is doing, was to modify the exhaust. All I did was get the rear section of this Remus exhaust, and I could tell you it's a perfect upgrade. The right amount of sound, No additional crazy pops or bangs or anything. You do hear more of the backfires, but it's in a tasteful way. It's very muted. Overall amazing sound. Now it did sound a lot louder in the car, so what I did is I downloaded the Bimmer Code app, and I basically erased the sound that they pump into inside the car for the exhaust, and by doing that it kind of went back to the same as the stock sound when you're just cruising around town inside the car, but then when you're pushing it you could actually hear a nice loud exhaust inside, so it's perfect. So yeah, in terms of exhaust, what I would recommend is forget the equal length. I heard this exhaust with equal length, and honestly it's too 16-year-old for me, like just very obnoxious, and I didn't like it. If that's your thing, by all means go ahead. I'm sure the quality of those pipes are top notch, and Active Works probably makes amazing exhausts and components, but trust me in that it doesn't sound good. It sounds really raspy and lots of crackles and pops and very obnoxious stuff for street driving. We drove side by side, another M2 and I. He had this exhaust with the mid pipes, and it didn't sound good at all. So if you want good sound for exhaust, just go with the rear section and you should be good. That's pretty much it for the car. There'll be more videos. We'll talk about how it drives, maybe some footage of point of view of me driving the car, and we could listen to the exhaust and whatnot. So if you want to join me on this journey, please like the video if you thought it was helpful, and give me maybe a follow, subscribe to the channel, and please put in the comment section. I've done quite a bit to this car. If there's any questions you have, I'd love to help out and give you my honest feedback on stuff. Okay, thank you so much.